Hello and welcome. Today I am presenting a mini module called Celebrate Victories, which is the sixth installment of the Leading Healthcare Improvement Curriculum, or LHI. We will focus on how to plan for and celebrate key successes or wins that occur throughout the course of your QI project. Let's start by revisiting where we are in the LHI model. In previous sessions, we discussed how to overcome some common barriers people face when implementing their projects. Throughout the implementation process, it's important to celebrate victories after successfully overcoming both large and small barriers to keep your team motivated and to inform stakeholders of progress. Today, we will discuss how to plan for and identify ways to celebrate wins. First, we'll review the goals of today's session. After viewing this session, you should be able to describe the PDSA cycle, understand why it's important to create short-term wins, and identify some key opportunities to celebrate short-term wins. Let's talk about how PDSA cycles can be used to identify and plan for important wins during your project. Plan, Do, Study, Act cycles, or PDSA cycles, can be used to help you learn the things that work well or fail to work when implementing your project. They are planned opportunities to test out different implementation strategies and allow for mid-process changes if it becomes clear that the strategy isn't working. You should do multiple PDSA cycles throughout the implementation process as you work to ultimately embed your project in the culture. Learning what worked well or didn't work well for your project helps you adapt your strategy and utilize what works best for your team, project, and stakeholders. Because this is an iterative process and can be done for any aspect of your project or the implementation process, PDSAs do not always occur in a linear fashion. Multiple PDSA cycles will likely occur in each project and may occur simultaneously. In addition, the length of time for fast or rapid PDSA cycles will vary on the complexity of the problem and the size of the system. For example, a PDSA cycle may last less than a week if you are testing out a new software and find out that it isn't compatible with your hospital's current software. On the other hand, you may have a longer PDSA cycle if you're trying out different techniques to engage with stakeholders that you meet with quarterly. However, both of these PDSA cycles could potentially occur at the same time. Now, we'll look at your LHI template and how it can help you plan for and execute your project's PDSA cycles. Here is a copy of the LHI template. Although the section shown here just includes the plan part of your PDSA cycles, the Do, Study, and Act sections are also included in the full template. Make sure to revisit your LHI template while you work through your projects because it can guide you as you carefully plan the steps of your PDSA cycles. Planning and mapping out PDSA cycles can help you identify key points in the implementation process where you can celebrate short-term wins. Celebrating short-term wins is important because it helps keep your team motivated and keeps others engaged with your project. Next, we'll discuss the many ways that identifying and acknowledging short-term wins can contribute to the overall success of your project. Listed here are some specific ways that celebrating wins can improve your overall implementation efforts. Celebrating short-term wins rewards the short-term sacrifice. It shows stakeholders that the sacrifices they're making to implement the change are worthwhile and justify the costs. Celebrating wins is also an important way to reinforce incremental changes rather than waiting until the change is fully implemented. It also recognizes those instrumental to change and provides positive reinforcement for their change efforts. Finally, celebrating short-term wins builds momentum by turning previously neutral individuals into supporters and reluctant supporters into active helpers. Let's revisit the innovation adoption curve to see how celebrating short-term wins can engage stakeholders. This image of the innovation adoption curve will likely look familiar. This curve depicts how quickly people within a system begin to adopt an innovation. As you can see, this is a process, and some people naturally adopt changes earlier or later than others. Celebrating short-term wins can be particularly useful in engaging the late majority and laggards. As you can see, the late majority and the laggards are the last to adopt a process or innovation. Celebrating wins pulls in late adopters by showing that the sacrifices being made to implement the project are worthwhile and helps build momentum to turn neutral individuals into supporters. It's difficult to be a naysayer when there's concrete data showing progress indicating that the change efforts are resulting in improvements. Now, we'll discuss the psychological impact of celebrating short-term wins. Research has clearly demonstrated that progress affects emotions, motivations, and perceptions. As one example, a study of 26 project teams, including 238 individuals from 7 companies, participated in an email survey for 4 months. The goal of the study was to determine how inner work life and events during the workday contributed to overall creativity. The results demonstrated that minor progress for a given project generated major changes in positive emotions. Even small celebrations can have a large psychological benefit. When we step back and make an assessment about how the day went, small wins can have a big impact. Small wins during the day often lead us to making the conclusion that the overall day went well, while encountering barriers throughout the day often leads us to conclude that the day was bad or unsuccessful. Therefore, focusing on the wins, even if small, and communicating those wins to others is critical for building engagement and maintaining momentum. Another study adds to our understanding of the power of small wins. Researchers found that reflecting on 3 good things that happened in the day led to less stress and less physical and mental health complaints in participants. Because of the power of celebrating short-term wins, it is important to intentionally plan for them. There are 2 types of short-term wins: PDSA wins and milestone wins, which are tied to the overall project outcome. Wins do not happen spontaneously. If we fail to plan for short-term wins, we miss the opportunity to celebrate in a timely fashion. Opportunities to celebrate wins should be pre-planned because during implementation, people are often too overwhelmed to plan for short-term wins and may lack confidence that change can or will occur in the face of barriers. For smaller PDSA wins, this occurs during the planning phase of each PDSA. Milestone wins are planned at the planning stage of the overall project. It's important to remember that wins should be legitimate and not seem inauthentic when presented to stakeholders. If data is adjusted to make it look like a win, cynics will be able to alienate people and shift emotions against the project. Planning for and paying close attention to opportunities to celebrate wins can ultimately make your project more successful and sustainable. Today, we have discussed the PDSA cycle, why it's important to create short-term wins, and how to identify some key opportunities to celebrate victories. We hope that you have found this helpful. Thank you for taking the time to watch this mini module, and we look forward to seeing you soon.